trying to get the tech to come to you so that we're together. Anyway.
And huge big love and gratitude to Anita, who's the most amazing woman. She's also the holistic VA. If you're looking for a virtual assistant, she is just brilliant. She jumped on and
saved the day.
She saved us. So Anita, God, darling, I love you. Thank you.
Thank you. And if you need an amazing VA for any needs, not just Facebook streaming,
anything,
call her or call us and we'll put you on to her. She's amazing.
She is. So anyway, we're here. Holy crap. It's just, I'm sorry. It's
I don't know if we can actually see the chat. So put your comments in and we'll come back and have a look at those after once we figure out this platform. Exactly.
Okay. Lovely. So hello. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Sharon Kaffour. I'm a holistic hormone health coach. My business is Why Settle for Ordinary, and I'm here with the beautiful Vicky Jamison, who is a fabulous holistic beauty therapist, wellness coach, woman extraordinaire all over things. And we're talking thyroid. So what we thought we'd do is I'll talk a little bit about kind of all the physiological functional parts of the thyroid and what it does and where it's connected. And then we'll bring in our own experiences. Vicky doesn't have, I have big experiences with thyroid. Then we'll talk about things that impact it and things also that you can do to try and fix it.
Wonderful. Sounds fantastic. And I know Sharon's very excited. I think you'll be all excited to hear her knowledge on this. I certainly am. My mum went through thyroid issues, so I haven't personally experienced it. A lot of my clients have, however, and Sharon's been doing her study. So she's doing fantastic, and I'm excited to listen just as much as you guys.
Thank you, darling. All right. So for those of you who've never really thought about your thyroid, which most of us don't, your thyroid sits around about here. Hang on, going back to front on the video. And really, in many ways, it's kind of the epicenter. Sorry, the hands do this, so just ignore them. It's really the epicenter of the body. It's so important because it regulates things like your heart rate, your blood pressure, your body temperature. Anyone who's had any kind of thyroid issues, especially if it's slowing down of the thyroid, will know that, you feel the cold so much. It impacts your weight, your fertility, your menstruation, your skin tone, your skin and hair, massively impacted. Energy levels is a big one. Sleep, memory, digestion. Effectively, it impacts almost every organ in your body. So that's what I mean. It's kind of the epicenter of everything. Now, little kind of technical bit, there are several axes within the body that are vital to everything working in balance with your hormones. So it all starts with your hypothalamus, which talks to your pituitary. Now, from there, your pituitary talks to your thyroid. So that's known as the HPT axis. But also, importantly, you've got hypothalamus, pituitary, adrenal, which is your HPA axis. Hypothalamus, pituitary, ovary, which is your HPO axis. And God love them, they all talk to one another. So if one's out of balance, there's a cascade and it impacts on all of the others. Does that make sense? I hope it does.
Yeah.
Now, what can happen is your pituitary gland, you can see that your pituitary is kind of really important there because it's talking to your thyroid, it's talking to your adrenals, it's talking to your ovaries, amongst everything else that it does. It can actually become fatigued over time. And what can then happen, the constant stress and pressure to continually send out these signals, which for whatever reason are not getting through to either your thyroid or your adrenal glands or your ovaries, it's pumping out these messages and it's just like, talk to the hand, we're not open, we're not listening. So that's how these all tie together. So if you're constantly stressed, your adrenal glands are under pressure, you're pumping out cortisol, it throws out your thyroid gland. And we're not going to worry about the ovaries, but, it'll...
I was just going to say, and so just remember right now, whether you have thyroid or conditions or not, because of the environment that we're in, because of COVID and we're doing self-isolation, we think sometimes we don't feel stressed, but our body is still going through the physiological processes of stress because we're now coping with a whole lot of new stuff. Now it may be coming back, dampening back down because we're kind of 4 weeks in to self-isolation and all these changes. So things may be, if you're managing it well, you may be handling a lot of that well. But if you're already suffering from a thyroid condition, it may exacerbate it, I'm guessing, Sharon.
Yeah, it will certainly impact it. The most common malfunctions, which you may or may not have heard of or even be experienced, you've got hypothyroidism, which is where your thyroid starts slowing down. The autoimmune version of that is Hashimoto's thyroiditis, which is what I had. And what subsequently happened from there is I went on to develop goiters, and then eventually they did a total thyroidectomy. So I'm now clinically hypothyroid. I don't have a thyroid at all. And you can imagine, you know, going through what I went through, explained earlier, that plays a big impact on my health. So then you have the opposite of that, which is hyperthyroid, which is a thyroid that's working a little bit more than it should be. The autoimmune version of that is Graves. And then you have a goiter, which is what I had, which is a swelling of your thyroid. And you can also have nodules. And that generally comes from an iodine deficiency or either Graves or Hashimoto's. Fun aspect is that women are 5 to 8 times more likely to suffer from thyroid issues than men. Yay.
Oh, why is that? Why is that? Genes.
Well, no, I think it's because women as carers, we're so much more responsible for so much now. Plus, we've got to manage bringing an income in, having the job, looking great, feeling great. And there are so many more environmental toxins around which impact the thyroid and also our other hormones, our estrogen specifically. And I think that's probably why.
Also, too, from a vibrational energy perspective, thyroid is throat chakra. And so if you have any imbalance, communication needs to be your key mode operando. So you need to focus on how you communicate, what you're communicating, the ways that you communicate and how it makes you feel. Using the color blue, so wearing blue actually can empower you and help heal you a little bit more. So that's just a side note on that side of vibrational side of things.
And that's such a great point, Vicky, because when I think back, because this all happened to me, my first diagnosis of thyroid malfunction was 20 odd years ago. And if I think back to that time, I was in a highly stressful environment. I hated my job. I wasn't speaking out. I wasn't following my truth. I wasn't being authentic to me.
Yeah.
I was also incredibly vitamin D deficient, which is another thing I'll touch upon later.
Yeah.
Another one too, I had fibroids. So my periods every month were bloodbath at the house of death. So my iron was incredibly low and all my important minerals were incredibly low. Again, impacts massively on your thyroid, and all of that, as you can imagine, was impacting on my adrenal glands as well. So hello, big cascade.
That was that whole axis that you were just talking about. So did it start from the ovaries, or did it start from the pituitary, or did it start from here? That's always a big question, isn't it? And of course we don't know what sort of malfunctions first.
Well, I think potentially what would have kicked it off would have been the adrenal glands, just the constant stress.
The stress.
Because stress also strips your body of all of the important nutrients, and a lot of those nutrients are what your thyroid needs.
Yes, and your pituitary gland.
And your pituitary gland, exactly. Yep. Ta-da! Ta-da! Okay, so if your thyroid is malfunctioning, some of the common effects of that can be irregular periods. So they can either increase in frequency and become more heavy, which is what I had, which is associated with hypothyroidism. Hyper, they become lighter and shorter, and sometimes even stop altogether. It can impact your fertility. It can cause complications in pregnancy, things like miscarriage, and also quite often it impacted me, but you can have postpartum thyroiditis as well, which normally will resolve itself, but sometimes it doesn't. So after all of that fun information and stuff, and you're sitting there going, oh my God.
We're doomed.
Yeah, doom, 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 doom.
Although having said that, I had adrenal fatigue in my late 20s, and I do not have any thyroid that I know of issues, even though my mum had it. So
sensational. That's
but I have always been very nutrient conscious, and probably because of the adrenal fatigue, I was on vitamin D from age, I think it was about age 28 or 29, I got diagnosed. And
wow,
so since then, I have always been on vitamin D, and I'm pretty sure that has made a big impact to even how I absorb all the other nutrients.
Oh, look, vitamin D.
For gut health.
Yeah, vitamin D it's something that, well, you know me, I always talk about. Got to get on vitamin D. You got to get on, you know, and high doses too. Not just the pissy little RDA recommendation, but you know, more than that. So when I think back to when I was diagnosed, I was getting up early. I was on a train early. I had over an hour's travel into the city. We were living in Sydney at the time. So not much sunshine, in a job I hated. Usually I was so busy, I'd rush out at lunchtime, grab a sandwich, rush back into the office again. And I was working long hours, so I wasn't getting home till late. I had no idea about nutrients and how important they were to my body. So you can just see my poor old body was just being stripped of everything every day. And then I'd sort of go from excuse me, thinking I'm fine, you know, I'll just get to the end of the week, it'll be good. I'll get to the weekend. Yeah, I'll have a rest then. And then gradually, you know, I like to talk about it's like your blinkers. You just become more and more narrow to finally it's like, I'll just get to the end of the day and I'll get home and I'll feel okay. But there is good news.
Yes, let's get to the good news.
It is good news. It is reversible. You can do a lot to help your thyroid and support it. So two things we're going to talk about now are gut health. That's a really big one because it's a major site of your thyroid hormone conversion. So obviously if your gut's not working properly, your hormones won't be converted properly, and then there won't be the uptake of what you need. And also too, looking at detoxing. So looking at your skincare and stuff, because your thyroid is very, very sensitive to toxins, especially those that mimic estrogen and interfere with the bioavailability of iodine in your body. I'm losing my voice.
Yes. So can I just speak on that? Traditionally in beauty, in skincare, whatever brand, so when I started with beauty therapy, it was in the 1990s. And I, because of my adrenal fatigue, I hadn't quite been diagnosed at that stage, but I was really aware that I was hypersensitive to stuff in products, whether that was laundry powders or any moisturizers, face creams, anything that I put on my skin. Some would be okay and some would be itching like anything. So that was clearly all related. But my point was I wanted to start my own salon, and so it was around the same time, but I wanted a clean product, and there were no clean products. In those days, skincare brands that were natural, they had plant extracts and essential oils in them, which was fantastic, but they all had chemicals to some degree, some less than others, but they all had chemicals. And so it was choosing something, the lesser of two evils, really, something that had a low content. Nowadays, we're spoiled for choice, I think, but we still need to be really aware what we're looking at. And so any skincare product, there's actually a great app, and I think we've shared it in the group here before. It's called Think Dirty. In fact, I might be able to even bring it up on my phone while we are talking. I don't know if you're going to see that, though. Can you? Oh, it's all back to front. Think Dirty.
It is all back to front. Oh, yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. So download that. That's a free app, and you can basically scan the barcodes, and it will give you a score, or give that product a score from 0 to 10. 0 being super clean, and 10 being chuck it out the window.
Oh,
It's got way too many toxins, and it is going to harm you. So whether it's your skin or internally, because toxins and chemicals absorb through the skin in 26 seconds. So of course it irritates and itches. As an indication, that's your body saying, get it off. It's got chemicals. I don't like it. If your body can't like it at the skin level, it's certainly not going to be able to process it and use it for energy, which is what we're wanting, on the inside. So please look at your ingredient list. If you get stuck, you can take a photo and send it to me, probably, and I can have a quick look and just say, hey, look, these are the things you need to look out for. Things like parabens, formaldehyde, sodium lauryl sulfates, phthalates, PBAs aren't really in skincare, but I know, Sharon, you mentioned that thyroid is particularly sensitive to that, and triclosan. Do you want to go into that a bit more?
Yep. So now that I've talked about how your thyroid and adrenal glands are so interconnected, some of these directly impact thyroid. Some of them will impact other areas. And look, with what we're about to say, this is not meant to make you sit there and think, oh my God, I've got to completely redecorate the house and change this and whatever. It's more to give you an awareness so that you can look around you and then slowly start making little changes where you can, or maybe changing how you do things. So 8 environmental toxins that can disrupt thyroid imbalance. So as Vicky mentioned, the BPA and your phthalates, they're often in plastics. They really directly interrupt, like that. So if you can, back to front, I've got to go the other way.
I know.
Stainless steel or glass bottle. Dioxins, which are quite often in female products, paper products, because it's kind of bleach. Actually, we get a lot of our exposure to it through the food we eat, which is pretty scary. Flame retardants, which are often in carpets, furniture, some pajamas, although thankfully not so much anymore. PCBs, banned quite a while ago, but they're still around. Perchlorate, which is a chemical found in rocket fuel, which, we've got lying around, but also bleach, airbags, and some fertilizers. So not common, but it's around.
Fertilizers, if you do a lot of gardening, please wear gardening gloves, because you will get a lot of transfer into your skin, and wash your hands, and then probably do anyway because they're a bit dirty, they get under your nails, but scrub them because it will transfer into your skin really quickly.
Yeah, and also one of the disturbing things is that it's in a lot of our groundwater and therefore our drinking water. Radiation, so if you're having a lot of X-rays, something to be aware of. Soy isoflavones. The challenge with them there is they can act like xenoestrogens, which can either block or overstimulate your estrogen receptors. And the challenge is it interferes with thyroid peroxidase, which is needed for thyroid hormone production. And the last one was triclosan, which Vicky mentioned, which is a common antibacterial agent found in soaps and lotions and creams and things. So that's where the danger there comes in.
So at the moment, if you are using hand sanitizer,
make sure there's no triclosan in it.
Yes. Use a more natural one, or one with essential oils in it, as well as your other sterilizing ingredients. So what can we do about that? And obviously supporting the liver, because your liver is your big organ that works on detoxification. So if the thyroid is really sensitive to toxins, then the liver is going to get more, I'm imagining, getting more of a hammering.
So
the more you can support it, the better it's going to do. Now, it might not fix things, but you will actually feel better, because if the liver's working hard, one, you're going to get a pump out of your estrogen, so it's going to create that imbalance of estrogen circulating, and you might get more hormonal flushes and extra extremes in perimenopausal and menopausal symptoms. And the other thing is you'll be tired, and your metabolic rate is affected, because liver impacts metabolism.
And if
Not
your
like
thyroid's,
thyroid.
oh, well, I was going to say, then you've got a double whammy, because if
Yes.
your thyroid's also starting to slow down, that impacts your metabolism as well. So you've
Yeah.
got it coming from both
From
ends.
both ends.
But as we mentioned before, and as Vicky mentioned with the skincare, there are a lot of things that you can do to help your thyroid do its job. So liver, yes, your body needs to detox effectively. We touched upon gut health, vitally important. So things like look at introducing a probiotic or go down the fermented foods, avoiding sugar. Sugar is so harmful on so many levels. Fiber, it's one of our favorite things, isn't it, Vicky?
Oh, yes.
And then start introducing foods that support your thyroid health. So your cruciferous vegetables. If you're getting sufficient iodine in your diet, there shouldn't be an issue. There can sometimes be a bit of a challenge with cruciferous vegetables, but make sure you've got them lightly steamed or cooked and not raw. It's when they're raw where most of the challenges come in. Brazil nuts for their selenium. Your thyroid needs selenium. Sea vegetables are a great source of natural iodine. And wild-caught fish, not farmed fish, wild-caught fish. Also, too, the minerals that your body needs. I mentioned them in the vitamins. Things like zinc, magnesium, which is also great for relaxing and sleeping. That was a deep intake of breath, Vicky.
I just realised, because we're an hour late, I've double booked a meeting, so I'm just going to message you while you're talking.
Okay, well, we'll wrap this up really quickly. Copper and iron and vitamins A, B12 and D, as we mentioned. Lower your stress because it dials down the thyroid function and uses up, as we mentioned before. Detoxification, as Vicky said, because you want to get rid of heavy metals. Look at grounding, earthing to balance any electromagnetic fields that come up. Use filtered water, as I mentioned, the triclosan and the other chemicals that are in the water. Use stainless steel or glass wherever. Never, ever microwave anything in a plastic container, please. And that's kind of pretty basic, but that's kind of what will get you started on looking after your thyroid.
The other thing too, if I can just flip back into, I know I had a bit of a diversion there, sorry. Supporting the liver, you can use a lot of teas that help, and there are some herbal products that you can use. So milk thistle itself is really good for supporting the liver, and it just helps keep it balanced, so it's not overstimulated or understimulated, so it can create its own balance. B vitamins, so that does two things. One, we need B vitamins, which is why cruciferous foods are good for us, because we need it for the liver, but we also need it as we go through stress. So our adrenal glands will actually burn through a lot more of that, your Bs, when you are in a high stress state. So that's whether you're high stress as an adrenaline, or if it's that slow burn of cortisol, which is what we might be experiencing now because we've had changed environment and it's 4 weeks in. So our body's now adjusting and adapting, but it's at a higher rate. So it maybe say we sit here on the ladder and you see something that happens and you spike up, that's your adrenaline, and then it can come back down again. Cortisol lifts. Okay, and then we've got changes. So adrenaline might go up like this, and then cortisol rises. So you might be sitting here just about over your limit, but your body's doing all that processing. So it's burning more B vitamins. It needs more liver support. So those, the milk thistle. You can support your adrenal glands with other herbs, like rhodiola is really good, and ginseng. Ashwagandha, which is on some of our products. We've got a lot of these products, both Sharon and I sell as well. So ask us about more information on that. Ashwagandha, and we mentioned the vitamin D as well, because that works like a key in a lock. So that unlocks a whole lot of processes so that nutrients can go in. Co-quinine, which is really good for energy. So I think, Sharon, you mentioned about fatigue and being tired.
It's a big one.
and not sleeping. So bacopa is another herb that works on that. So coquinine is one of the things that we need for energy, and it's what we burn. And as we get older anyway, whether you have thyroid conditions or not,
This is true.
you have less mitochondria, basically. If you exercise a lot, you actually renew it quite well. But if you don't, they do start dying off. So that creates more work for the liver. So you need to detoxify. So getting liver help is good, but also that coquinine. So you're refueling the fire, if you like, in your cells so you can make the energy from the food that you're taking in. The probiotics for your gut health. The skin is actually the other thing that I wanted to mention. So quite often you get really dry skin or the thinning of your skin. And that's sometimes either because of that estrogen, the ovary connection. But quite often you might need an essential fatty acid rich diet and add in essential fats to your your supplement intake, and that needs to be higher than normal. So normally we would say 2,000 milligrams for fish oils, clean, mercury free. And would you agree, Sharon, for thyroid you need more? Like I would say you're looking at 3,000 milligrams a day. What do you take?
I take around 3.
Yeah.
Well, essential fatty acids are great for so many things. I mean, they're a good mood food. So thyroid can leave you feeling really kind of, certainly low thyroid, hypothyroid, can leave you feeling really, down, a bit blue, not feeling great. Hyper can get you feeling anxious and jittery and like you're on the go. So anything that's going to feed your brain loves essential fatty acids. Your skin does. It's a great anti-inflammatory as well. So on so many levels, increasing your omega-3 fatty acids is always going to do you good. And
fats actually help a lot with that brain chemical side of things. So all the different chemicals in your brain love it. And your skin. So dry skin basically leads to more lines and more sagging. So we don't want dry skin. So things you can do about that is more masks, because masks are more intense. So if you have thyroid conditions, I would say do masks 3 times a week. Get a professional treatment once a month, and also use a night cream. And you might find you might need to use a night cream morning and night, so not just at night, because usually it's a much more dense product, so it provides a lot more nourishment, so those essential fats as well as any anti-aging treatments that it's got in there. So and also use a body moisturizer. If you're not using a body moisturizer, that's like 80% of your body skin, and so you'll be dry there. So just use a body nourisher straight out of the shower, put it on straight away while you're still nice and warm, and it's done.
And those herbs you mentioned, Vicky, ashwagandha especially, is really supportive of your thyroid health too. So it's a great herb on many levels.
Yeah, great. A lot of these herbs that we're talking about are in just a couple of products, so it's not like you're taking loads of stuff. No. And if you've ever taken herbs before and you're taking it in the raw state, which is actually when I had adrenal fatigue, I used to take it like that for a period of time, and then I thought, I can't do this forever. This is too awful. Yes, it worked, but now I take it in a tableted form. I think the other thing you mentioned, Sharon, was stiffness of joints and achy pains and things like that. Was that right? Or can that happen?
It can certainly happen, definitely. Probably more so with hypothyroid. A lot of other things that I don't think you really want me to go into all the possible symptoms of them, because it's really just...
Just talk to Sharon. You can have a one-on-one with Sharon. She'll be... you can talk through that option with her. So hopefully those have given you some great indications on lifestyle and nutrients that we can take, or make sure we've included in our diet. Obviously we don't get everything from our diet, but we need to be eating the right foods to start with, and then adding in with our supplements and our herbs. so that we can support our body. And I believe when you've got conditions that are not quite normal, your body's always trying to reach that normal, then we need to help it as much as we can just to sort of maintain that feeling of wellness. That's what wellness means. It's not just like, oh, it's a made up word. We actually want to feel good.
And it's not just about not having to go to the doctors or not ending up in hospital. It's about having the energy and feeling like you can live life the way you want to. And sometimes we don't often know how bad we're feeling until we start feeling good.
Exactly. Exactly. Yes.
And on that note,
because we could talk forever on this, and definitely. I'm not even a thyroid expert.
But anyway, if there's anything you guys want to know or anything we can help you with, please don't ever hesitate to get in contact with either one of us. We'll also be asking you to let us know what you'd like us to talk about next week, when theoretically we've now got all the tech issues sorted, and we will be coming to you live when we say we're coming to you live.
We shall see. Let's go for 4 weeks in a row, shall we? Okay, nice to see you guys. I look forward to replying to all your comments, and have a great week.
Bye, guys.
See ya.